Welcome to Writer Syndrome, podcast about writing from start to finish. This episode, we're getting back into it. Getting back into it.
Again.
Oh, I'm Russ. That's Tim. I'm skipping our last names. And getting back into it. Let's just get right back into it.
Yeah. If it was that easy, we wouldn't be here.
I know, right? We wouldn't be having this discussion. What happened? What happened to us? What
happens to everybody? You know, you break the routine.
Yeah.
The bike falls over, you skin your knee, and you no longer ride bikes.
You flat tire, you put the bike in the garage, and you're like, I don't have time to change a flat tire.
No.
I got too much life going on.
I live in this garage now.
Oh, I'm sick.
Got too many other responsibilities.
Life, work.
Fear, doubt creeps in. What am I even doing?
Children, alcohol, video games.
Whoa, hold on.
Wait,
you
what?
Just described my whole life.
I was just describing my own, like minus the kids thing. But
I was gonna say,
yeah. So getting back into it, we both kind of hit like a wall over the recently. It's the holiday hangover, maybe.
I think so, yeah.
But we both hit a wall, and we were like talking about this, about what's going on. How do we get back into this? And then we're like, maybe we should talk about this a bit more because it's a problem. You know, I think a lot of people run into it, as I always do my in-depth research. Quick Google search and finding articles. There are people always writing about how to get back into picking up that old novel you started, never finished, or you're stuck halfway through, and what are some things that people do to get through it?
Teach me.
Do you want to just go right into what I did to get back into it, or do you want to get into the psychology of what the hell happened to me?
Just a minute of why the routine breaks.
Yeah.
And then the how, because
I think that's fair.
I think if you don't pay attention to it, it can kind of creep in. The slow boil. And
I think it's important to identify it so that way you can adjust and fix your routine going forward to avoid that. And for me, it was just a snowball thing. It was holidays. I did jack shit.
Yeah.
I had these plans of like, I'll be down visiting family. I can take an hour, just write 500 words. I did none of that. And then 1 week became 2 weeks. And then middle of January, I had to get wisdom tooth pulled. Then I got super sick with the flu, and that just wiped me out for like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
Can I ask you a question? So you were traveling. You planned on writing when you traveled, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah.
But I feel like very difficult to do. Do you think if you had afforded yourself, hey, I'm taking 2 weeks off, and then I'll be back on this date, it would have been easier? Or like as you're breaking these small promises to yourself, does it build?
So that was going to be my next thing of coming into. Yes, I think breaking the small promises to yourself, you're like, oh, even if I just write 500 words and you don't do it for 1 day, you don't do it for 2 days, you don't do it for 3 days, all these things start snowballing.
You start calling yourself names. Oh, God, I'm so lazy. I didn't do anything.
I was running through the list on myself here. And I think that is definitely a case. Because if you say, I'm just going to take a week off, you have this mental thing of, I'm taking a week off from work and I'll come back to it when I'm back, right? And you kind of get that thing off your mind. And I didn't do that. I was like, I can still write. It's getting, kind of, I'm going to have time. And I ended up not having time.
And did it haunt you while you were down there that did you feel pulled in two directions, like a responsibility and then something you wanted to work out, and then you were kind of pissed that you couldn't get the time?
100%. Yeah. This is definitely like a psychological, this is a mental thing here where, yes, I'd set some goals for myself and I wanted to keep writing during the break, and I did none of it. And then it was like, that just, that buried me in this like, that self-doubt thing where then like, you're like, I'm not doing this thing, and not sticking to those goals or even adjusting, even just being like, I think I was still pretty aggressive, like trying to like, I can write 1,000, 2,000 words a day. And it's like, I could have just adjusted and said, just write 500, write for an hour, whatever you get, doesn't matter. And I didn't even do that. And I was missing them, and I kept missing them. And I kept, how could I bounce back from this? Because my goal was still stuck at like this one number that I wanted to do.
And at the time, right, you're prioritizing family. You're there to see family. That's the main responsibility.
Absolutely. And writing should be like this other thing I'm doing in the background. But I could spend an hour a day and do this thing, but I didn't. And then it just kept snowballing. I was like, oh, forget it. I'll just write when I get back. I got to refresh myself, and then it became
I'll tell you, not to always bring things back to exercise, but if I'm traveling to see family, or if I'm going on a work trip, or even on a vacation, I pack my running shoes all the time because I'm like, I'll just wake up early and I'll go for a run. Yeah. I never use those shoes ever.
Yeah.
I've got the option, but I just don't. And I think breaking of the routine, because I run all the time at home, or at least go to the gym or something.
Yeah.
And as soon as I'm out of, my regular 9 to 5, 5 to 10, whatever routine, it's so hard to start it again. I should probably just give myself some grace and give myself a vacation so I can actually be more present, so I don't feel this gnawing feeling like I'm letting myself down, you know?
Yeah. And I think there's definitely there's a kind of a mental play there, because then once you're failing this thing that you want to do, and then you don't do it for 2 weeks, then it's easy to just be like, how can I get back into this thing? I haven't done it for 2 weeks. Why do I need to do it now? You know? And then it just keeps
and
going.
think about the
going.
things like when you're in a situation like that, I like thinking about the things you can do. Like maybe you can't write, but you sure as hell can read.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like bring a book, read before bed, read in the morning, just a little bit. And I think that will help scratch the itch a little bit. Like it's still pushing forward that idea. Like you're still keeping the relationship while not beating yourself up.
Now, what for you? What was it was a similar thing, just like holidays kind of gone away, family life and all that, and then you just, because I know you said you had kind of fallen off a little bit, but you're in the middle of like editing and also working on something new. So
yeah, and I think I'm kind of in an interesting configuration, but if you boil it down, it's the same thing. So for me, I was going through this very, very large, intensive, hundreds of hours edit on my book. And I was on routine, man, like every single day doing it, on the weekends doing it. And then I finished the edit. Then what? I'm like, now, because I've got this other book in the back of my head and I've kind of started it. And I kind of feel torn between, once again, two things. Now, they're both writing things. Yeah. I've got the old book, which is, off to, being reviewed by some friends, Russ, and
me,
my partner, Jill, because I want to submit and I want to make sure that it's, I don't have any ridiculous errors in there.
Yeah.
So I can't really work on that one. I've kind of tidied my query materials up a little bit again to start that process. But I think I had a hard time transitioning from the old book into the new book because I had taken so much time off of the old one that it felt like, I don't know, I was not even seeing a friend, like meeting somebody you walked past once.
Yeah. So you were having a problem with just that transition from something old to new. Yeah. And then because the book you're working on, Critical Mass, like you're kind of in like this stasis period or moment, right? Because you're waiting for feedback from myself and Jill, and then you've got your query, you got that stuff ready, and then once you get our feedback,
when that's done, it's still like editing again, and then pragmatic of submitting to contests and querying again, which is not writing at all. At least not the kind of writing that I enjoy.
Right.
So I mean, I'm going to need to figure out how to balance the two things. So after I spoke with you, speaking of things that helped, during one of our chats, it gave me the kickstart to kind of get back into the old book. And now I needed to read what I read and kind of tidy it up and go through all the beats and my spreadsheet. And I started to get back into it, and then I fell off again.
Mm-hmm. And this is you starting the next book.
The new book.
Yeah.
Yep. Started writing, started getting back into it. I was really excited. And then same thing, work crept in the mornings before work. And family got really, really busy with the extracurriculars with the kids. And excuse after excuse after excuse, and I have not identified the window of time to get back into. Like I could have written this morning. I definitely could have. Yeah. I worked from like 7:30 a.m. until now.
Yeah.
I didn't. I could have used that before work time to write, but I chose to work for free. I don't know why. I don't know why I did it. I feel productive, right? But nothing was really that critical that needed to happen before work. I need a routine. I need to get back into a routine, I think.
So we were in similar spots. I think a couple of weeks ago, towards the end of January, I was like, I think I told you, I was like, hey man, we need to get back into our regular like weekly. Well, now we're doing every other week, like writer chat, just you and I, and kind of, I was like, I need more accountability. I think that's one thing too. I need someone just there to like text me once in a while, or even just be like, when we chat, and every 2 weeks, just being like, all right, man, you told me you were going to do this. Where are you? Right. I need that little bit of a push. And I think that's okay to have like that accountability partner and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And remember I told you, I was like, yeah, man, here's my goal for this week. I just want to write 3,000 words this week. It was like kind of a shortened week for me. I'm just trying to get back into it. And I am writing 3,200. So I hit my goal a little extra.
Nice. Let's go.
I'm back into it. How did I get there though? Right. And it was like, I had to revisit everything because I had been away from the book for almost a month. When I look at it, I was like, oh my God, this is almost depressing of how long away and how long I've been away from it. So you gotta
like tune your brain back into what you were doing, why you were doing it, reorient yourself in the process.
100%. And it was like one of the things that helped me was I took a day and I was like, there's nothing else I'm doing this day. I don't have to go to work. I don't have to do anything else. Here's my day. And this is what I did. And I sat there and I went through all my materials that I have. I went through, just logline and treatment, just kind of skimmed through it. Just like, here's the overall picture of the story. Then I went into all the story beats and I reread all those to kind of orient myself with like kind of where things are going, character motivations, kind of where I left off and how things are going to play out a little bit further down. Then I went through the remaining scenes. I have my scene breakdown, right? I have Act 3 and maybe a handful of scenes left in Act 2. And I was just kind of like, all right, let's get into like the more detailed scenes, understanding where things are going. Is everything lining up? Do I have a path forward? And then I reread, and this is all one day. It didn't take long. I don't have to spend 8 hours doing this, just like.
How long did it take? I'm curious.
At the end of the day, probably like maybe a couple hours, 2-3 hours. Okay. Because I just skimmed through the treatment, all my materials I have, skimmed through the scene breakdown. Does it line up with the story beats? Okay, maybe add a few, change some tweaks here. Nothing crazy. And then I reread, and kind of like the last thing was rereading like the last 2 or 3 scenes I'd written. And that just kind of got me back into characters' heads, kind of where things were.
Were you tempted to start from the beginning?
To reread it?
Yeah.
No.
Good for you. Yeah, no. I feel like that would have been an absolute
terrible
time sink. You would have been stuck.
Yep, 100%. Because then I would have gone into editing and changing things and identifying all these things that are wrong. I was like, no. I just want to read the last 2 or 3 scenes because I only have 2 characters' POVs. Just read from them, understand where they were going, what things they solved in the last few chapters, and then cool. I'm mentally caught back up with this book, and I'm like,
yeah, I am and I know you are too. We're strong advocates of not editing as you write.
Yeah,
just write.
Save that for the next phase because that's its whole thing. And then the second part of all this, so that was just like I spent the one day, what did I say, 2, 3, maybe 4 hours max just going through.
Oh, wow. This is 1 to 2. Now it's 3. It's 4.
What did I say? It was 2 to 3 hours. I remember it was like, I just spent the morning just going through it. But I kind of broke some stuff out throughout the day. And then I was like, all right, I need to revisit just the daily goal. Like, writing every day, that's obviously an ideal goal. That's not possible. I usually try to sit down to do 2,000 words in like 3-4 hours, which is completely reasonable and totally doable for me once I get moving. And I was like, you know what? I need to start smaller. I need to start smaller. So I looked at my week and I was like, I can write 3 days this week, 500 words a day. And then the next week I looked at it again. I was like, okay, 500 words here. Oh, this day I got nothing going on. Okay, now I can write 4 days, 500. Let me try for 1,000. And now it's like, now my goal is.
You're back on.
I'm back in it. And I wrote, those days I sat down to write just 500 words, I wrote 700 to 800 words. 700 to 800 became 1,000 pretty easily. But I still said it was like 500 is my goal. I hit it. Okay, momentum is back,
And then, so you're back in momentum, you're back on routine. Do you notice, how when you sit down to do, something that's going to require an hour or 2 of focus, you feel that pull to do something else, anything else? Look at your phone, go shopping, see your partner, whatever. Does that go away? Like, did that disappear?
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm just like focused on here's what I've got to hit. I put my phone.
I'll tell you what gets me, right? And
get to work.
I don't know if this is unique to me or not, but I really enjoy writing. I really have a hard time being sedentary. I have a hard time sitting still, period. Like constantly fidgeting, constantly drinking a beverage, always trying to do something. So when I sit, if I'm not completely focused, I'll feel like a lump.
Yeah.
So I said, these past several weeks, my writing has been dubious. As soon as I finished editing, the bottom dropped out. Couldn't get started again. It's not that I didn't have time. Every single week I've spent over 5 hours at the gym. I totally could have spent some of that time writing.
Yep.
I just didn't prioritize it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think that's part of it too. I think looking at your schedule, like the week ahead, like this helps me. I do this all the time. But then actually realistically planning and readjusting how much I'm going to write every day. Like really looking at it and sitting down and be like, okay, what else do I have to do today? All right, I've got 2 hours I can write. That's it. That's my block. I can write in 2 hours. I can write 1,000 words pretty easily.
Yeah.
Just put 500. Just get 500 done. And that's it.
Yeah.
And that readjusting of the schedule takes off that pressure of like, I got to write every single day. I got to write 2,000 words every single day. And it's like, if that's not doable, that's okay. Readjust, but just make sure you're writing something, even if it's 100 words or 500 words or whatever. But I think that helped me mentally get over this snowball effect of like, I'm failing,
Yeah.
So yeah, that was huge, and it's building momentum now, and now I'm looking at now I'm like, okay, I'm back in this. I need to get this first draft done. I'm like 65% 5% done with this first draft. I need to get this done. I need to start setting some goals for myself here outside of just this daily thing. And I'm not going crazy. I'm not jumping to like, I got to write 3,000 words a day. I'm setting a goal of like finish this by the end of March. That's completely reasonable. And now I've got like I love spreadsheets, but it's important for me and it's helpful. And now I'm like doing this slow ramp up. I'm like, okay, I got each week by week plan, like days off in there accounted for.
Yep.
500 here, 1,000 here, and if I stick to this plan I have, by the end of March, I'll have beyond completed the book. So I have some wiggle room there,
Yep.
And I think that was huge because then it also gave me focus by kind of building this out and setting that for myself and making it reasonable, but
still accountable. It's like, it's tactile, it's tangible. You've got it in front of you. Like,
so yeah, those are the things that have helped me kind of get back into it. And you can see it's kind of like this funnel of like refocusing and then getting down to what
then knowing that it's a cycle, that at some point 3-4 weeks in, you're gonna miss 1,000, miss another 1,000, miss another 1,000, and you're gonna be like, oh shit.
Yep.
And you're gonna fall off again, but you'll have the tool to get you started again at the time,
100%.
as long as you afford yourself some grace and you're not too hard on yourself for getting the flu or COVID or whatever else happens.
Right. Which, in the middle of this last week, I got the flu. I was like, I could write while I'm sick. Nah, I couldn't.
Maybe dream sequences.
Just watch movies and watch TV and get healthy. Yeah, dream sequences, right? So yeah, those are like the things that I use to get back into it. And if you dig around anywhere, you're going to probably see a lot of similar things. There were some other ideas that helped me. Working on something else creative. While I was really sick, I was playing card games with my partner and beats me in every game we play. But we were playing this old card game I really love. And it gave me this idea for like a card game. So I just started focusing on that. And it was like something else creative, but it got me excited.
Filling your well.
Yeah, and exactly. And it got me excited again. And I just started outlining rules and like designing in my head. And it was like something I needed to like, that wasn't book focused. It was something else, but it was still creative and using that kind of that brain, those parts of the brain, which really helps. So
yeah, I feel like you can't underestimate people. Like even right now, I'm reading a friend's script. It's inspiring to me. Like having other people around who are creating it, you kind of get swept up in that. I think there's a part of it that's kind of communal. I think there's a part of it that's friendly competition.
Yeah.
It's also just having something else to share, some bit of commonality with that person. My wife's working on another script right now. And, when she's done with this, I'm like, oh, please let me read it. I'd love to read it.
Yeah.
One, just to provide feedback and see what she's working on and share that. And two, I know that it's going to fill my well a bit. It's going to fuel me.
Yeah. I found the other thing that helps, and these are other things while I was trying to get back into it. Reading a book, reading something in your genre, that really helped. Or even reading a craft book. I think that kind of helps too. I mean, you don't want to get too sidetracked. We're like, I'm just reading this book and you think you're doing something, but you know what I mean? Like it's good to help as like a secondary thing to like maybe get your mind into those worlds.
Definitely.
Whatever the genre might be. I think that really helps. And even reading a craft book gets me excited.
I just think with every book that you're reading, especially when it comes to fiction, there's something you can glean from that experience, whether it's dialogue tags they're using or their use of backstory or whatever else. But I found it, I'm still reading that Jack Reacher book.
Still working through Gene Reacher.
But I'm still enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one other thing that I find actually helped me. I did this the other day. Technically, I didn't write I kind of did write on Monday, even though I didn't write towards the book. And this kind of fits into your spot a little bit. I actually started thinking about, I have a couple book ideas, and then the third book is going to be same characters pretty much. But I started kind of poking around with that. I was just like in the shower and I started thinking of ideas for it. And then I got out and I just started writing like some scenes. I wrote like a really short, like couple hundred words, just like, something.
Yeah.
Kind of revisiting like a third book that's going to come in after this one. So it's going to be very close. And, characters are shared. So I was like, you know what? This is actually kind of helpful because it's getting me excited about that story, which I'm already excited about the one I'm working on. So I find working on something new was helpful for me to get like refocused.
That happened to you right after you'd finished Host. You were working on something else entirely.
Yeah. Just like once I get going, just like you're touching that creative part. You're just ideas start keep coming, and then I think it's helpful just to sometimes take a step aside if you're stuck and maybe focus on something else you have. Yeah, I think that's really, really helpful. What's your take on? I was just thinking about this as I was saying it. What's your take on using like writing lessons or like to kind of get back into it?
It's weird. I think based on my like YouTube search history, I'm being served up a lot of like lectures about writing
Yeah.
from authors, who are established. And some are great, and some I'm kind of like, this guy? Why am I listening to this guy? You know?
Yeah.
So I think it's helpful. I think you just need to check in with yourself to make sure that it's actually helping and that it's not becoming a distraction, or at worst, it's not giving you imposter syndrome or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
It should serve to be inspirational as opposed to kind of muting, But people are talking about the millions of books they've sold and all the ones they've thrown away and how prolific they've been. And you're like, well, I haven't written 1,000 words in 2 years. No, it might hinder you more than help you.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the big ones always are like, I love that Stephen King book on writing. I love Save the Cat. Like, those are the old standbys. I'm less about, I don't know, people standing up in front of others and proffering their ideas on how to be better. It just feels kind of egotistical to me.
What do you think about actually doing like a writing like exercise?
I think if it gives you the routine, and possibly like if you're going to take a class or something, a community of people to be around, it's great. It's absolutely great. Even if that's just online, if you've got like minds that you can bounce ideas off of, I think that is a great way to get inspiration back and refill your well, or taking a class. I'm less excited about, and this is just me personally, like taking a class, a recorded class online and kind of going through the module. That it just feels like busy work. It could be wrong, but my knee jerk is to say, use that time and write. Like, you're going to learn a lot more writing than you are sitting down listening to somebody, talk at you in a YouTube clip about it. I think.
Yeah.
Or go read something,
Yeah, I think I kind of agree. I mean, that's just the way I.
But definitely subscribe to this podcast.
I know, as we're saying this. I was just thinking that.
But we have no ego here. We're on the ground floor, man.
Yeah, you could just shut it off right now and just go right. If you're inspired right now, just go right.
Give us a review first.
5 stars. Oh my goodness. So those are kind of some of the things I have used to get myself in. It's working for me right now. Who knows, that might change, but I'm going to stick with it for right now because those are all things that even in the past I've done that have worked for me. So I think taking the time to reorient yourself, and even if you take those 2 or 3 hours or 5 to 6 or whatever it might be that I took, to sit down and just get reacquainted. There's some articles I had seen where people were like, revisit your characters and do like profiles of them, and I think that's not a bad one. I didn't go that deep, because I already kind of, once I got into the story and everything, I was like, I already know what their wants and needs and goals are. So
yeah, I think if you do enough prep work, you're okay. And I'm guessing you're like me, even though I'm not writing, I'm thinking about these characters, their conflict all the time. Walking the dog, in the shower, at my kid's orchestra concert. Like, my brain right now is kind of like a sponge for scenes and conflict. And, the same thing happened with the last book, where even when there was moments that I wasn't writing, I was absorbing and taking notes on my phone to reuse later. And there's value in that. When I look back at my old notes for the old book, I used like 80% of them. 80% of them. Even up until this last edit, there was something in there and I was like, oh shit, I wanted to use this. So even though you're not in the minute and you're not setting aside a couple hours, there's still time and tools to be creative, to make, and I'd say always, if you're tactile, get Post-it notes. If you're not, use your phone. It's way, way more convenient for me. Write it down. Write down your idea because you'll forget it if you don't. You absolutely will.
100%.
Because you always have those door moments. You walk through a door and you think of something new. You walk out of it, you forget what you were just thinking about. So if you take that minute to write it down, it'll come back. It'll help you out later.
100%.
I want to say one thing that's kind of helped me and helping me, and this is just my own neuroses of like having a hard time sitting still. I got a walking treadmill and I got a standing desk. It's like eliminating excuses. It's like, I should really walk the dog. I should really go get exercise. I should really do something. And it's like, you have no excuse. Go walk for an hour and write. Don't fall and kill yourself. Don't run yourself to the ground. But if your excuse right now is that you don't want to sit or that your neck hurts, because that's happened to me, right? Like my vision gets a little wonky, stare at the screen too long, my neck gets a bit stiff. It's just walk for an hour and write.
I'm picturing you sitting down to write after you're describing the you're fidgeting and everything. I'm just picturing you as like the one man band on the side of the street who's got the drum, the harmonica, and the guitar, and like the jingle jangles on his elbows, and he's just like doing the whole thing, like hand writing. Like,
But I will say that when I am firing on all cylinders and engrossed in my book, I am not fidgeting. I am in it. I mean, I guess I'm fidgeting on the page.
Yeah.
I'm creating, but I'm not like sitting around rubbing my face and drinking incessantly. But if I'm like working or reading email or something or talking to you right now, I've got a fidgeter in my hand. I just need to be doing something.
That's what you've been doing to me.
Everybody's like, oh, he's so calm. He's unflappable. And I'm like, inside, I'm on fire.
Yeah.
I'm always burning.
Oh.
Outside,
always
relatively
fidgeting.
calm.
Always fidgeting.
But I try not to do it to the point of making people uncomfortable, right? Because I know there's that, but I'd like to.
Well, now I know. Now I know you got a fidgeter underneath your desk over here. I can't. I only
You don't
your
see
upper
me
half.
every time. Either this or my headphone case I'm always fidgeting with. Yeah.
Jeez, just go for a run.
Yeah, I do that too. Yeah, and just thinking like in addition to tools that keep you on track, like you've got your schedule, you built out a nice spreadsheet of accountability of how many words you're going to be writing each day, each week with an end goal in mind.
Yep.
And that's great for this kind of middle process. But I think we should talk just for a quick second about what got you here, which was the initial planning, right?
Yeah.
I think it's so important to
OCD.
Yeah, the OCD. But you're right. I mean, you talked about knowing your characters before. You don't need to do character profiles at this moment because you've already done character profiles.
Yeah.
Not to say they won't change, but you've got those documents to go back to reorient yourself. You had your beats, your 15 plus beats.
Yep.
You had your spreadsheet, your scene breakdown to reorient you.
Yeah.
If you didn't have those tools in place before you started,
I wouldn't get back into it.
I think you could, but you'd have so much more work to do.
Yeah.
So the small bit of advice would be to make sure that you have those tools in place before you start writing. And it's not to say they're infallible and they can't change, because everything will change as you learn your characters and your world more.
Yeah.
But have them as this kind of supportive structure, this infrastructure you can go back to, because it'll help you get going again when you inevitably fall off, because life just finds a way to get in the way all the time.
Thanks, Doctor. What was his name? Malcolm. What was it?
Yeah, I know. I can't. My accidental Jurassic Park reference.
It's fitting. It's fitting. Yeah, no, I agree. And even I'm sure a lot of pantsers are probably rolling their eyes and like, oh, just write the thing. But I think even pantsers, you need to have like even a rough outline. It doesn't have to be something crazy, to the extent of, every scene.
I feel like if you're a successful pantser, it's because you have this stuff in your head already.
Yeah.
It's because you don't need to outsource it as much as somebody like I have to.
Or me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. But yeah, so I think like having those things at the beginning kind of helps you obviously through the whole journey. But then if you fall off, which is okay, and it happens, it gives you a point to come back to, take a time to go through all your materials, go through the outline, go through your, if you have a scene breakdown, do that. Do this high level, just reorient yourself with what's going on and where you're headed and where the story's headed, if you know that. And then slowly build up. Like, I'm not saying you have to, I have a daily calendar of goals here, writing goals, that's me though.
Yeah.
You don't need to have that. Have 250 words. I'm going to start Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. I can write 250 words, something small like that. Block the time off and just do it. And I think those are kind of the things that just get you back into it. And then I think building on that, And
I love thinking about the soft aspects that got you back into it. It was people. It's your partner. It was chatting with me a little bit. It was going out and living a little bit and refilling your well a little bit and reading. I think there's types of little soft things that you don't think about that can get you back into it.
Yeah, yeah. And
I do feel like the further you get away, the more that doubt creeps in.
100%.
The harder it will be to get back into it. So
totally, and even using small things like if you have something else floating around, looking at that just to get the creative brain going, I think is very helpful. And I think reading does that. I think working on something else that helps do that. Yeah. So I don't know.
Here, I got one bit of bad advice.
Yeah.
Get angry
at yourself.
No, at other authors who are on NPR, who are just gabbing about their books, sounding so erudite and talking about the publishing industry with their little monocles and their
I publish 14 books. I publish a book every year. Look at me. Yeah.
I've always been a writer. I wrote my first book when I was 7 years old.
When I was 7 years old, and now I'm working on my, autobiography. Yeah. Yeah, that was something we talked about also. Anyways, that's not the point. Yeah, I agree.
There's nothing wrong with a little bit of competition. A little bit of anger.
Yeah, get you fired up.
But I lean more on the positive side. I think anger can only get you so far.
I was about to do a Star Wars reference so we can cover all of our,
Bring it. Let's go.
No, because it's like, anger leads to hate leads to dark side. We're not doing that, though. Even though
as long as it leads to 1,000 words a day, that's
all
that matters.
That's all. All right, so that's good. I think that's everything. I think that's a good starting point, and I'm back into it. So.
Oh shoot! I've got one last thing.
Oh shoot! Oh shucks! Go for it.
Oh golly, gee willikers.
Gee willikers.
This wasn't based on research. This was just based on my own experience. Life moves pretty fast.
No, you son of a.
Not intentionally quoting Ferris Bueller. Okay.
One of my favorite movies of all time, by the way. But
life gets busy, right? In a way, it feels like we are on a bit of a conveyor belt whipping forward.
Yeah.
If you afford yourself some time to stop, whatever that means to you, whether that's meditation, church, the quiet before a movie, going for a walk, whatever it is, if you afford yourself, 5-10 minutes of quiet in some way, the creative brain starts working. It just goes. Like, I've noticed it with meditation before. I've noticed it with yoga before.
Yeah.
There's moments when I have a window when I'm not distracted by responsibilities and work and going grocery shopping, that when I have a pause, my brain starts being creative. It just goes to stories. It goes to simile. It goes to bits of conflict or creativity. I get excited about things.
Yeah.
But that's just to say, sometimes a little bit of a break, as long as it's not a break where you're distracted by a million other things, is helpful.
Yeah, I mean, top of my notes, I was like, at the end of the problem list, I was like, I just need to take a breath. Even if that was just for a day of just wiping out everything else around me. Stop looking at newsfeed, stop looking at the state of the world and whatever else, and just take a deep breath. And then doing that and just being like, okay, get back to work, readjust, and figure out a plan to get me back into this. And start small.
Yeah.
Start small.
Take a breath, be grateful. Right.
Look at that tagline for the
Bam. Writer syndrome.
Subscribe now. All right, I think that's good. What are you watching, reading, playing?
Let's see. Still working through that Jack Reacher book very, very slowly.
Yeah.
Because I'm reading it on my iPad, which I don't like to carry with me. So it's just a right before bed book. So it's like a 10 to 15 minute at a clip.
Gotcha.
I'm reading a friend's script, which is quite good. And I started reading a sci-fi book called Everything Red, which is from the Murderbot Diaries.
Oh, yeah. I read the first one a long time ago.
Yeah, not Everything Red. All Systems Red.
All Systems Red. Yeah, isn't that the first?
One of my short stories was called Everything Red. Sorry, confusing myself with somebody who's successful.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw that out there. Is that the first of the?
It's the first.
Okay, I read that.
And it definitely reads like a first. It feels like a novella. It feels short.
Yeah, it is.
But the first person perspective, from a robot, maybe a humanoid type robot, cyborg, I guess.
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah.
But yeah, it's I was because I wanted something out of genre to kind of get into, so I just started Googling great sci-fi, recent sci-fi, and there were some Reddit posts that were just kind of +1ing that series. So I started giving it a go. So far it's pretty good.
Yeah. I read that one. I really enjoyed it. I haven't gone back to it, but you saying this will probably get me back into picking away at it. So it's a good series.
Nice. Yeah, cool. And then watching, I gotta tell you, man, everybody said that the Shogun show was good. It's good. It's a good show.
I haven't watched any bit of it.
So it's on the Hulus or FX, and it's really typical in that it's kind of like the fish out of water story. I don't know. It's like it almost feels paint by the numbers, fish out of water, stranger in a strange land, love story, conflict type thing. But it's just so darn good. It's done so well. It's got a budget on it. The acting is phenomenal. Half the show's in Japanese. My brother's wife, who's Japanese, they watched it together, and she just said how good the dialect is, which is pretty rare, when it comes to American shows, that they're getting the language correct.
Yeah.
They seem to be getting just about everything correct. So I am it's the first show in a long while that I am like excited to start. I'm like 5 episodes in and I'm just like savoring it. But I'm like, oh, like
Yeah.
I totally recommend it. I hope it's not, I mean, it's got the pieces of like a white savior story.
Mm.
I don't know. It feels very, very balanced. It's based on a series of books,
Yep.
which I didn't know. I didn't know that it was based on a book called Shogun, and I think there's like a whole series of these books, and then also a television show from like the 70s, maybe. So it's like it's an existing IP, which I know creatively dead executives love.
Revive it, turn into money.
But it's done good.
Nice.
And that's it. You know, I feel like that's like the only good thing worth talking about. Oh, Severance. I'm watching the Severance, which is okay.
I got to start that. I got to get into that. It's on my list.
I'm dubious. You know, I feel like I'm starting to get that. Is this turning into Lost red flag? Like, have they planned anything? Is this planned, or is it just mystery box inside an office cubicle?
And you just got lucky with the first season?
No, the first season's great, but it's built on the mystery, right? And as long as there's, setups and payoffs that continue throughout that feel earned, it'll be fine. But with long form television and how much time it tends to gobble up, I get dubious whether they're not just milking me.
Yeah.
So I can be like, oh, I'll buy it a new iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of have that feeling about what I'm watching right now. You playing anything? Anything good?
Started playing Metaphor Refantasio because I beat Persona. It's like the newer Atlas RPG. I'm doing that on my treadmill because I can't stop moving.
You can't moving? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, can't stop moving. And that's about it. How about you, man?
Let's see. Reading wise, I finished that Old Man by Thomas Perry. The one was a show on FX with
you were
Jeff
saying
Bridges.
the show was better than the book. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, the book I'm 3. Just I don't know. It just wasn't all that exciting. So yeah.
Is it a series? No, it's not a series.
No, it's just a standalone story. I thought the show was better, but they canceled it. So that's the end of that journey.
I mean, to be fair, I think he only worked on it for a year. He writes a book a year. So
yeah. And it was just, I guess when you get to that point where you've written your 20 some odd book, you just talk about 2 people traveling around for most of it. I guess that's it. So I don't know. Maybe there's something meditative about the mundane of it that interests people. So, which is totally fine.
Maybe you need to revisit it when you're an old man.
I'm getting close to that already. So, I started this book called Ghosts on the Wires. It's interesting. It's about this hacker. It's a real story about this hacker, Kevin Mitnick, from the 80s and 90s. He's doing like telephone hacking and was getting chased by the FBI, and I'm only about a third of the way through that. So it's kind of fun, kind of enjoying just reading this.
I love the title. I was hoping it was going to be fiction.
No, and it's good though. It's fascinating just to hear all of the accounts and how he got into hacking and how he's just getting into trouble all the time. And he's just doing it because, he will just for the thrill. Like none of his hacks, he ever like took any money. Well, not that I know of yet, but it was just more of like he could break into the system and do this thing and get access and then get out. And that was it. So kind of interesting. I'm enjoying that one. And of course I started Critical Mass by Tim Letney. So,
hey, I hear that's a barn burner, page turner.
It's a good. I'm turning pages. I'm swiping pages.
You're swiping
pages. So
it should be a lot better than when you read the beta.
Don't set me up with any expectations.
I mean, come on. It's been a year and a half of nonstop editing. It's got to be better. All the things I've learned.
So yeah, that's it for reading.
Thanks. Thank you for reading that.
No problem. Of course.
I look forward to your unbiased review.
I will give that to you as your friend. Watching, I know you're going to groan, but I'm halfway through Silo season 2.
Yay!
Just so everyone knows, that's Tim's groaning.
I like Rebecca Ferguson.
I do too. I think she's great.
She's great.
So this season, I'm like halfway through. I'm getting the same vibes I feel like you're getting from Severance season 2, where it's more mystery box thing, a little lost. It's like, oh man, we have to go back to the island kind of moment.
Yeah, we got to go back to the island.
And the first episode was like, it was just...
Did she go back to that community?
That's the plan.
Isn't there other communities to explore?
Yeah. And I'm not spoiling stuff, but there are more. And yeah, so warnings. So the first episode, though, is the entire episode is 45 minutes of her just getting into this other silo.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And part of it was, I'm like, okay. And then part of me is kind of like, all right, just get inside. It's like, why is this 45 minutes? Like, just get inside.
Especially for the first one, which they tend to dump a lot of money into to hook you. You'd think they would have done something a little more engaging.
Low amount of dialogue, mostly just her trying to get into another silo she stumbled across. So I'm enjoying it though. Things are heating up, so sticking with it.
Yeah, I love that silo. So good.
Yeah, and I play wise. I
hate that movie.
I'm picking away at the Batman Arkham Knight, the old game.
Nice.
It's fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm like halfway through it. And Octopath Traveler, still picking away at that one. I kind of ramped up a bit while I was sick playing that one. So
I was thinking about getting that.
It's a lot of fun. It's just a classic JRPG, style game. Very Final Fantasy, whatever it was that was on ES4 or whatever they called it. Very much like that. Cool storylines. You play as 8 different characters. You pick one main one out of the 8.
There's a sequel, right?
Yeah, Octopath Traveler 2, obviously, the sequel. I think it takes on kind of like a Final Fantasy and SNES 16-bit kind of version of it.
Okay.
But yeah, gameplay's fun. Stories are pretty cool. There's all the kind of the fantasy characters. You got your cleric, your mage, you got your warrior, and you kind of pair them up to traverse through the land and battle monsters. So yeah, nice. It's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it very much. So
very cool.
That's it. That's it for me. So.
All right, man. Well, hey, congratulations on getting started again. I feel inspired to hop on my treadmill and start answering emails. No, start writing.
That's right.
Although I can't now because I actually have to go to work. But
get back into it.
I'm ready. I'm getting back in.
Last episode. Thanks for listening. We'll join us next episode. We're going to get into time jumps.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've wanted to talk about this for a while.
I have because I didn't do enough of them.
like flashbacks and stuff like that, and just jumping through
and just
skipping stuff to jump to the next point of a story, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about next episode. If you enjoyed this one, share with a friend, follow us if you're listening, and give us a review because that helps us and take over the world. So
yeah. Thank you.
You can also find us on Instagram at Writer Syndrome Books. I know. Social media. I'm kind of done with it.
We got to get you up there dancing.
I know, right? That'll help. But for all of our episodes, contact information, if you want to reach out, you can find all of that at RaiderSyndrome.com.